Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning into the video. Last week I talked about wanting to build a sign-in sheet, and that's kind of what I've been working on. So last week it was a calculator, and I was using Tkinter and Python. This week I'm using Tkinter, Python, and then I brought in a new library, Openpyxl. I've used it in the past. I know there's a lot of libraries to work with Excel documents using Python, but I just had experience with Openpyxl, and that's why I decided to keep using it. So to get into the video, we're just going to start with kind of the files I imported here. So I have Tkinter, Openpyxl. I brought in the workbook, load workbook, and then I brought in fonts because I wanted to mess with fonts. I wanted to make something bold, so I brought that in. So I'm just going to start with my main window here for Tkinter. So window, I built up my window. I put my attributes, so the size using geometry, the title of it, and then I changed the color using .configure with a background color and used hex code for that. Then I wanted to put my header, kind of like my main display. So here I decided to do 10% discount with newsletter sign up, just kind of doing something fun. It could be used for if you had a business, you could just set your laptop out there for people to use, and they could sign up as they go. Couldn't talk there for a minute. Then I have my email, my first name and last name, labels, and then I have my entry. So customer emails equals entry, so I have an entry block in there for people to put their information in. And then all that's going to get put into when I hit my button, my enter info button, I have the attribute, so it's going to say submit on it. It's bold text, and then it's lambda. So when you hit the button, it's going to call this function submit pressed, and then it's going to pass. It's going to get the information in the blocks and then pass it. So we'll go ahead and then it's call in the submit press. So I'll cover that function real quick. So submit press is really my main function here. So it's going to take email, first name, and last name. I created a Boolean statement, and that I set it to false because I need it to become true for it to kind of trigger all my if statements. So for all the blocks, I have a if else statement. So for this one, I need email to end with .com, so I put ends with .com. And I also need it to include an @ symbol in the email. And if that's true, it's going to keep the block white, and you'll see that here in a minute. And then it's going to change that Boolean statement to true. Otherwise, it's going to turn it to red, basically letting the user know that, hey, something's messed up here and you need to type it in again. Same thing for first and last name. I didn't really put any parameters. I just said, hey, if the box is empty, if the box is not empty, keep it white, make the statement true. Same thing for last name. If it's not empty, make it true. And then, so if the last name, first name, and the email is all equal to true, then it'll basically put my main if statement here. And this one gave me a lot of trouble because I put while last, first, and email are all true, do this, but then it just kind of created a constant loop and just kept filling up my Excel document. So it took me a minute to figure out that I needed to put an if statement here. And so all I did for starting off here is full name. I just combined the first and last name with a space in the middle. I loaded my workbook, and so I saved a workbook, and let me show you that. So I'm loading the workbook here so it can read it. But basically my sign-in log repository, if you click that, this is the name of my Excel worksheet, which is all you need to put right here to be able to use it. And then worksheet, I'm basically activating the worksheet. So on a normal Excel document, you have a sheet, and my sheet is called worksheet WS, and I'm just activating it, saying I'm using it. Font attributes, I just built fonts here. That's why I brought in I imported styles up here. So Openpyxl.styles. I only imported the fonts. There's a lot of stuff you can use there. Fonts, backgrounds, borders. So if you're interested in that, you could always look that up. But I just wanted font. So that's why all I wanted was to make Calibri and then size 12 and bold equals true. So I wanted the font to be bold. And I'm only going to do that to A1 and AB. So I just built it for my headers. And then for the rest of the columns, I just put them to 25. That way it looked good when you went to look at the Excel document for full name and email address. I felt like having that already set just kind of cleaned it up a little bit. So right here, for column A, row 1, I made it custom name, and then column B, row 1, I made it customer email. And then here, I'm taking these same row and column and just adding it to calling it A1, and then A1.font, and put it as the header right here. This statement right here gave me a little bit of trouble, but I finally figured it out. So this is going to basically look at the worksheet, and it's going to look and see what's the next empty row. So right here I'm saying, hey, row equals 1 for now, while worksheet column A plus string row, so this was 1. So this is kind of making this statement right here. So plus string, and then I put value. So while the value of that cell does not equal none, row plus 1. And it's going to keep doing that until all of a sudden the cell is empty, and then it's going to do this right here. So once the cell is empty, it's going to take that full name, throw it into A, whatever the row happens to be, and then it's also going to do column B, whatever this row happened to be, and add the email next to it. And then it's going to save the workbook. It's going to open up the second window function, and I'll get to that here in just a second. And it's going to disable that enter info button. That way you can't accidentally click it again. So let's get up to the second window function. Alright, so for the second window, this is my thank you window, and it's basically just letting you know that, hey, your information was entered correctly. It's going to put it to the top level, so it's going to put that window to the top of everything and initiate it. Set my attributes here, my geometry, my title, configuration, change that background color, and then I put 2 labels on it. Just one saying, hey, your information was added, and then a second label that says thank you. That way the user knows, like, hey, my information made it, and I can continue. And then once they hit the OK button, it's going to terminate or destroy that window that opened up for them. And it's going to call the clear out function, so we can get it ready for the next user to come up and put their information in. So the clear out function is right here. So all I'm really saying is, like, hey, clear out the entry form, and then activate that button again. And then I'll kind of walk through everything once I open it up here. But I wanted to show my workbook. Let me pull this up here. So right now, I just left this here, but we could delete it out real quick just so we start with a blank form so you can see kind of how it works. And it's already set to 25, but we can mess with that too, and it'll fix it. So we'll save what we did here just so we can, when we run the code, it'll show kind of what it's doing. We'll leave that up. All right. So I'm gonna minimize all this real quick just so you can kind of see how I envisioned it running. So say you had a business or something, you could just leave this at the front desk. 10% discount with a newsletter sign up, so customers see it, they're interested, so they want to put their information in. So let's put input Isley at gmail.com. So it has to have the @ and it has to have the Gmail, but let's just say they forgot to put that. They just put gmail.co. They submit. All right, hey, you need to fix this. Something's wrong here. First name's empty and the last name's empty. All right, well, I'll put my .com, Submit that. All right, well that's correct, but now we need a last name, or sorry, a first name. All right, and now we need you to put a last name in here. All right, last name's in. All right, thanks for doing that. Your information has been added. Thank you. Hit OK. Clears it out. We'll pull up our newsletter. All right, my name's been added. Email's been added. And one important note is you have to have the Excel document closed so that your code can run on it. And then as customers come in, customer 2, and you could kind of mess with this even more and be like, hey, this specific, if it doesn't say at Yahoo, because I have it so that this would even be valid as is. But so really anything with an at and a .com is going to work as long as the .com's at the end. So that could all be changed later. And then this button got deactivated when I did this, so you can't click on it by accident, because I noticed that was one thing that they could submit multiple times without, if this window somehow got hidden. But all right, thank you. And then I'm just kind of putting some more in here real quick, just because I do want to highlight that, let's see, friendly. All right, I'll submit this real quick. All right, thanks for adding it. Let's pull up this. So because it's looking for that next empty row when I do this, so let's get rid of this customer right here. It's all kind of moving up, but it's not going to change anything, because when it iterates, it's saying is row 1 empty, is row 2 empty, and then it's going to say row 3 is empty, and then you can add your information here. So that's kind of, I'll save it, but that's kind of like how the quick down and dirty on this one was. I just thought it's definitely like a starter, and I might come back to this in the future to kind of actually make like maybe a sign up and like make some, you could have a comment box down here and you could save the comments. So it's a pretty good shell to work with, and I'm gonna put the repository to my GitHub down in the in the description below. And then I'm trying to kind of think what video to make next. So if you have any ideas, drop it in the comments down below and let me know. I might, if it's a bigger project, I might do like a part 1, part 2. But I do want to start moving past Tkinter and start maybe doing data analysis. Maybe I'll do like a stock market analysis tool or something coming up next. But if you have any ideas, let me know in the comments below, and subscribe to see videos in the future. Thanks for tuning in.